Welcome to today's deep dive, where we're looking at this massive stack of investigative reports and legal documents right out of Orange County, California.
Yeah, and we have quite a mission today trying to unpack all of this.
Right, because we are unpacking this this totally wild institutional paradox. So imagine, getting a Safe Driver of the Year award, like mere months after losing your license for reckless driving.
Right. It just sounds completely absurd.
It really does. But, okay, let's unpack this. How does a disgraced prosecutor who literally got fired for constitutional violations—
And not minor ones either.
Right, exactly. How does he become a celebrated judge who's now getting awarded for teaching those exact same constitutional rights?
Yeah, so to really understand how a system produces that kind of outcome, we have to look back at the context of the OC snitch scandal.
Oh, right. This went on for decades, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Basically, local law enforcement ran this clandestine program where they illegally used jailhouse informants to extract confessions from defendants.
Which, that fundamentally bypasses the Sixth Amendment right to counsel.
Yeah.
Right? Because if someone already has a lawyer, the state can't just secretly interrogate them through some hidden proxy.
Exactly. But the really insidious part, the secondary mechanism making this all work, was concealment. Prosecutors systematically withheld the fact that these informants even existed from the defense attorneys.
Wow. And Ebrahim Baytieh was operating right in the middle of this.
He was, and he built a huge reputation as a highly effective prosecutor while doing it.
Okay, so how did those specific tactics finally, catch up with him?
Well, it all culminated with the review of a 1988 murder case involving a defendant named Paul Gentile Smith. When they re-examined the case years later, Judge Daniel Goldstein found that Baytieh, as the lead prosecutor, had withheld evidence.
And a lot of evidence, if I remember the reports correctly.
Yeah, 23 separate items of evidence regarding these undisclosed informants.
Wait, 23? That's not just like a minor clerical error.
No, not at all. Judge Goldstein actually found that Baytieh made a falsified statement under oath denying he knew about a key informant. The judge officially labeled the prosecution's tactics as, quote, reprehensible.
Which has massive real-world impacts. Because of those constitutional violations, the original murder charge against Smith was reduced to manslaughter.
Right, so a killer basically gets to accept a lighter plea deal.
Exactly. And consequently, District Attorney Todd Spitzer fired Baytieh in 2022 for cause.
Which, logically, you would expect a firing for cause to completely end a career in public prosecution.
Yeah, you really would. But here's the crazy pivot. He wins an election to the Superior Court just months later. How does that even happen?
Well, it comes down to how professional networks mobilize. In local judicial races, public voter information is usually pretty low.
So voters are just heavily relying on institutional endorsements.
Exactly. And Baytieh leveraged this deeply entrenched network of law enforcement unions and political allies. Those endorsements effectively shielded him from the fallout of his administrative firing, allowing him to win the election and take the bench.
Which brings us to the present, to April 2026. The Constitutional Rights Foundation of Orange County, which is an organization dedicated to constitutional education,
named Judge Baytieh their Judge of the Year
for his volunteer work with high school mock trials. It's just wild.
Right. And what's fascinating here is this concept of siloed accountability.
Oh, I like that term. What does that mean exactly in this context?
It means these professional networks have this remarkable ability to just compartmentalize behavior. The legal elite in the region are completely separating Baytieh's documented history of prosecutorial misconduct from his current mentorship role.
They just honor the volunteer time and entirely isolate it from the institutional damage on his record.
Exactly. But for victims' advocates, that compartmentalization totally falls apart.
Yeah, you've got people like Paul Wilson, whose wife was killed in a separate tragedy that was touched by the informant scandal. And he's publicly protested this award.
And you can see why. For advocates like him, the system feels fundamentally broken when the individuals responsible for derailing justice are literally receiving commemorative plaques from their peers.
Yeah, it's rough. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I think it illustrates how insular professional networks can just override systemic accountability, which directly threatens the integrity of the justice system you rely on.
And we have staggering data to back that up. If you look at California's Commission on Judicial Performance, they impose absolutely zero discipline on 97% of the complaints they receive.
97%. Wow.
Yeah, it shows how exceptionally high the threshold for actually removing a judge really is. When institutional protection is the default, public accountability naturally takes a backseat.
Which leaves us with a pretty disturbing final thought to mull over.
Yeah, it really does.
If the tight-knit network responsible for enforcing judicial discipline is effectively the exact same network handing out prestigious awards to its own members, who is actually guarding the guards in your local institutions,